Well, you know why my body's 80% anime. I had to kill Tezuka, so and I regret it.
Wow. You weren't even born when he
I know
died.
I am
That's
the Zodiac
impressive.
killer.
Welcome to another episode of the Wave Motion Canon podcast, the weekly motion canon. I am your host, CJ Hitchcock, and this week we have Josh Dunham and the Subtle Doctor with us. Go ahead and say hello, guys. Oh my god, it's happening again. Did you guys cut out?
No, I was being nice, and I was gonna make way for the boss.
Oh no! See, there is no boss. There's no boss. I was like, oh man, I should let Subs go first, and then it's just like he was quiet, and I knew what was going to happen. Is if I stayed quiet, he would mutual stay quiet. So.
And I was just reliving the nightmare from last week. I'm just like, oh my god.
No, hello, I'm Josh Dunham. Obviously, you know me from, Senpai Coast to Coast, that old podcast that comes out very rarely, and obviously Wave Motion Canon. Pleasure to be on the show.
You know who it is, the face that runs the place. God's gift to anime, right here.
Oh,
Jay Dunham.
Oh dang. Josh Shogun.
Joe Shogun, up in this.
Oh,
2017.
Dang. Mom Spaghetti.
Hello, Subtle Doctor here. Pleasure to be on, as usual, CJ. I wasn't on for a little while, and now I feel like I've been on a few of these here lately, and it's good to be back.
Yes, it is great to have you guys back. But yes, our topic this week is going to be Amazon's new anime streaming channel, Anime Strike. And we are going to have a discussion that is going to be positive, negatives, pros, cons. We want to go ahead and tackle all aspects of this thing, so we're not going to be completely gung-ho for this, and we're not going to be completely, this thing needs to be burned to the ground. This is not going to be that kind of show. I do want to kind of put that as a preface at the beginning of this episode in case you wanted to know how this episode was going to go. We are going to be as constructive as possible, so that is kind of how I want to construct this. So would anyone like to describe Anime Strike in a better sense, or is there another way to describe this service a little bit better than just it's a new service that Amazon is offering that streams anime?
I think you mostly hit it, CJ. I think it's Amazon's alternative to Crunchyroll, Hulu, anime streaming services. It's a subscription-based service in which, if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can pay an additional $5 or so a month and have access to their Anime Strike channel exclusives, many of which are currently airing shows. They have gotten into this market that Crunchy and Funimation and sort of Netflix are in, of licensing titles to be simulcast, and they're in the game, and they've slowly been acquiring more and more titles that are of greater and greater interest to the anime community, and of course that has brought the service into the forefront in terms of I guess its mechanics, how you use it, how you pay for it. Is it going to eclipse Crunchy and sort of take over the market? Is it just this thing that this soulless corporation runs and doesn't care about anime fans? Is it actually good for the industry? A lot of different questions are swirling around this service.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think the best place to start, because this has always been kind of the big thing when it comes to Anime Strike, is going to be the price wall that comes with this service. And there's a couple of different ways that you can look at this. because the big thing really comes down to, do you have Amazon Prime or not? Because if you do, it is only going to be about $5 a month more to what you're already paying for Prime. But if you are an anime fan who does not have Amazon Prime, and I'll be upfront, like myself, I do not have Prime. You would have to pay an additional amount, and the number that goes around quite frequently is $100 a year, on top of paying $5 a month, which comes out to $160. That's the number that's been floating around with a lot of the articles that are about this particular topic. And in my experience, I find like if I subscribe to the just the video portion of it, I can pay like $8 a month for just the video portion, and then it's another $5 a month. So it really comes to around like $13-14 after tax when it comes to this service. So it's not as egregious as a lot of articles kind of make it out to be, but that is still a pretty high price point for maybe only watching 1 or 2 shows a season.
Oh, can I ask a question, CJ? So
sure.
So you've gone out and subscribed by so you pay for Amazon Prime Video, which is $8 a month, and you're then able to access Strike.
Yes.
So,
that is how
so
I
you're
was
only
able to
paying
work it.
$13 a month, and not.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel like that's big news, and maybe underreported slightly.
Right.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah.
Well, so I don't have the exact number on hand, but I feel like in order to contextualize this, I'm going to kind of steer away just for a moment. But like yesterday was literally Amazon Prime Day. Prime is literally the focus for Amazon. Amazon, their entire business is built around getting people signed up for Prime. And what's the statistic? How many households now in America have Prime?
So as of June 2017, so the number may have gone up even slightly from this, but Forbes reported last month that the number was 64% of American households subscribe to Amazon Prime. So that's just to, I think that number, like, I don't think you can then say accurately that, well, only 36% of anime fans are affected, because like that's not good. That's not good statistics.
No. It's
but
not
like,
going to be direct.
but we're still. I think it's still important to define the scope of the problem.
Right. So the thing is, obviously, there are more households in America that have Prime, or at least access to Prime, than don't. Okay, that's accurate. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not more anime fans are in that remaining 30-odd% or not, I mean, we'd have to do another breakdown and all that, and that's beyond the scope of what we're doing here. But I guess the point is there's alternate routes to get to this. Most people have Prime already, okay? There are, and even if you look at people who use Amazon, right? Let's ignore households in America. When it comes to people who use Amazon at all, there are more Prime users of Amazon than there are non-Prime users of Amazon. So if you know that Amazon exists and you buy from them at all, chances are you are a Prime user anyway. Now, this doesn't get rid of the insult and injury, because some people are still going to say, well, unless I have to pay, Crunchyroll prices, this is going to be garbage to me because I'm never going to get the same amount that Crunchyroll is offering me. And that's true.
For now.
For some, to some degree. I mean, there could be a couple theories that we'll toss out. You mentioned a couple off mic subs I thought were really good. But my theory is this. Look, they want you to have Prime. That's what they want. So Amazon is not actually really marketing to an anime audience. The anime audience is a niche. And my belief is they kind of think, okay, well, you're going to probably get a video service anyway, because anime fans will probably want to watch movies too. So if we sell them that, then we can sell the anime for, the extra couple bucks for the people who may want to watch it. I think the problem is anime fans, even the people who don't pay for Crunchyroll, are so used to that access after a week that it's so very easy. I mean, even if they're using Kiss Anime itself is probably, one of the bigger sites, and it's absolutely free, So when you put it in context of Crunchyroll, Kiss Anime, Daisuke and all these sorts of things, yes. You look at, I gotta give them a shout out, Daisuke, man.
I forgot about them.
The point is, when you compare it to anime exclusive streaming services, yes, are they behind? Completely and totally. But when you compare them to Netflix and Hulu, I think they're definitely in the ballpark, and that's really who their competitors are. They're not concerned with how many subscribers Crunchyroll gets because they're not even after really the same. Well, not that they're not after the same shows, but I mean, they end up licensing different shows anyway. Once Amazon has a show, that's it. Amazon has that show. In many cases, it's an exclusive. These big monolithic shows that piss everybody off because they don't have access. So I guess, what battleground are we looking at here? Because if you're saying Crunchyroll is the standard, then even Netflix falls very, very far and very, very short. But, if you're looking at more of a general audience, which, Anime Strike is trying to be marketed towards, because remember, this is an add-on. This is like the deep cable, add-on for your channels or whatnot, I think it contextualizes in a brand new light how Amazon is treating this. Now, again, we are an anime site. We're focused on the anime thing, so we're probably going to end up looking at it through that light more often than not. But I do think it's important that we kind of stop and think, okay, maybe we as hardcore otaku or whatever you want to call yourself, weeaboos, who are watching every show every season or at least a good handful of shows every season, yeah, this is a major pain in the ass. And that, I think everyone has the right to say. What I don't think is right is these people who are kind of vehemently, moralistically opposed to this Amazon strike quote-unquote problem. It's not a problem. It's something new we need to learn to play with.
Right. It's not necessarily a problem. It's competition. That's exactly what this thing is that there's a new kid in town. He's gonna, it's like an old Western. Crunchyroll's the old, McGuffled sheriff of Animeville.
I love this analogy.
And I hope he looks just
Strike
like
is
Miles.
A mustachioed Miles.
Yes, and, Anime Strike is the new, Billy the Kid. He's in town, and he's going to take things over for a while, and, and it kind of seems like they're going to face off with each other, when really Anime Strike, it's not necessarily interested in kind of forming a community. It's interested in becoming competition and to, make money from our hobbies and our fandom. And I don't really see much of a problem with that from like as a term of like why it should exist, because again, like, competition is a good thing. And when you have Crunchyroll, to go back to the sheriff analogy, like, at that point he's, Crunchyroll can no longer just sit behind the desk and whittle away his thumbs thinking that the town is safe. So now he has to step up and prove to everyone that he is the rightful sheriff of this town, and he is going to defend the, everyone around him.
Quick question. Is the sheriff of Crunchyroll like just a bunch of Crunchyroll emojis like stacked in a body, or?
No, Crunchyroll is Crunchyroll. The entity is the sheriff of the town of American anime fandom. And
okay.
and Crunchyroll has deputized VRV. So I think it should be said that I think everyone on this podcast right now and on our website thinks that conceptually the notion of a double paywall is probably a bad idea. It's not consumer friendly. It's a pain. But if what CJ's saying, right, that you only ultimately, even with a double paywall, end up paying $13 a month for a bunch of new streaming anime, new exclusives currently airing simulcasts, like, that doesn't sound like a bad deal. But if people are considering purchasing Amazon Prime to get access to Anime Strike, I think they should stop. I think that is a bad idea. That's a bad deal for you. That's going exactly backwards. And if that were the only option, I would be arguing a lot harder right now that Amazon really should break it out from Prime and make it its own thing. However, they may not want to spend the marketing dollars on it and just market Prime anyway, and like sort of hope anime fans are savvy and figure it out, and we tend to be that way. But like, but yes,
yeah,
like,
that's a problem in and of itself. But we'll talk about that a bit later.
Okay, you need to you need to decide if Prime is for you. Buy the package for Prime and its benefits. And there are many, with the shipping and the benefits you get with Amazon Video, Amazon Music, Pantry, Twitch. You get some benefits for being a Prime sub. So yes, buy Prime for Prime and consider Strike, or access to Strike, I guess a bonus from there, even though it's shitty. Like, it's not a free bonus, it's a $5 bonus. But the thing you said at the top, that this only $13 a month for what I think is a good service in terms of its library. I don't think that's a bad deal at all. I mean, it's not as cheap as Crunchyroll, but I also think it's still quite affordable. And the argument, I have a lot more sympathy for the argument of the double paywall is bad than I do the argument of, well, I don't want to pay $5 here, $10 there, etc. for streaming services. I want everything all in one place. I mean, that's sort of a utopic dream.
Well, it's
that
also
is actually
a bad idea because
and it's not good for the industry to just exist as a monopoly. But also, like, this is kind of the world we wished for when we all became cord cutters, and we all said, "Fuck paying $150 a month or what have you for cable and all this shit that I don't want to watch. I will pay minimal subscription fees to watch the things that I do want to watch." And so, like, the world now has changed to cater to that desire, and it's up to us to now manage our budgets and decide and prioritize what we want to see. And if it's more important to you to see anime than to see Stranger Things the next season or Orange is the New Black, then prioritize the $13 a month to Anime Strike versus the $8 or $9, $10 a month to Netflix is all I can say.
Right. Well, I do, to do a little bit of a counterpoint, I do think that there should be a little bit of a, the amount that your dollar is getting you for the service in comparison to other services that it's competing with, in this case Crunchyroll, because not only is Crunchyroll cheaper, it has a huge back catalog that you can go through, where, it's one of those things where you could watch a lot of the things that's on Anime Strike in like a week or two, but you'll be watching Crunchyroll for years with the amount of content that's on there.
Yeah. I guess give it time to grow, I guess you're kind of making an investment. And also, like, I'm considering this relative to what I believed the price to be like 20 minutes ago, which was $100 a year plus $5 a month. $13 a month. Starting to sound way more palatable.
So let me kind of interject in I don't want this to be a focus, but I do want to kind of just speak to what CJ said.
Sure.
As much as I love that argument, because I'm an anime fan who will go back and watch those older shows and that sort of thing, unfortunately, the back catalog is not necessarily the major draw for Crunchyroll. It's the new stuff, and so...
Oh, quiet you.
I'm just saying, like, who watched Green Jacket Lupin? You know what I'm saying?
Me.
Hey, I did.
I mean, yes, we did. That's why you guys are all on the website. But my point is...
That's the secret. That's part of the secret test.
Yes, you see Green Jacket Lupin, and then you start singing the right song, and then we let you in. We get mad sometimes.
I thought the test was that we were supposed to watch part 3.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought that was the test.
Anyway, I guess the thing is, like, think of the difference between a new episode of Gintama versus... Well, that's not fair, because that's a long-running series. I mean, I kind of want to avoid these long-running series because, obviously the back catalog for that is going to be powerful. But, you consider a new, currently airing show, like freaking Centaur's Life, right? And compare that to, a show that's dead and gone, Captain Harlock. Who do you think is getting all the views? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty safe to say that the streaming is what's driving the traffic to these sites, the currently airing stuff, and that makes perfect sense. So in that regard, I don't think back catalog comes into it as much because that's, again, not what the consumer is necessarily going for. I mean, maybe we as a consumer, totally. Maybe some people who are listening to this, totally. I'm trying to look at this as a success
like a casual
story.
fan, a more like the normal sort of typical.
Yeah,
anime fan.
more plebeian type of anime fan, if we should use that word.
Yeah, no. I think that's a decent point and whatnot. And I just, in terms of backlog, even of the latest stuff that just came out this year, like there really isn't that much you can go back and watch to when it comes to Anime Strike. Like I do think that catalog size is a little bit important when you're trying to compare price points, because again, like it really does come down to dollar value, where like, $8 will get me 1,000 shows, while $13 gets me 20.
It is
like,
discouraging when you go to the library and you see, what do we got here?
You can browse through it in an hour.
Fate
Yeah.
/ Doo-Doo and Vexiel the movie. Great, what a library. Glad we paid for this.
Right.
Yeah, no, but so back catalog is important, and I think to a degree Daisuke has like placed their bets there. They are licensing like a lot of older robot shows. They're not keeping them around in perpetuity, unfortunately. It seems that they're licensing them for kind of a limited time and then they go away. But like throughout the last year, that seems to have been their strategy: is we'll get the people that want to watch Vifam and Gal Gaigar and what have you.
Well, supposedly, I've heard that Daisuke actually has the highest bitrate right now for streaming anime. So
it's always looked great when I have used it, be it on the app or the web browser. Now, I have other issues with their app. It tends to crash, and also like when it crashes and you go back to the episode, it will
start over.
keep playing the ads. It will play the same like 2 minutes of ads like every single, and it's just kind of exhausting. But
Ugh.
It's
like
when
almost like
you want to watch
Orange.
when you want to watch Luck and Logic in 1080p, you'll put up with it.
So here's kind of a thing I want to talk about here. I'm gonna pull up a couple unrelated points, and I really think this should contextualize Anime Strike. I'm gonna probably go on for about 5 minutes or here or so, but I want to talk about. Let's turn back the clock to pre-Dragon Ball Super, before it started streaming anywhere. The big question on everybody's minds was, when is Funimation going to bring out DB Super? I mean, like, it was inevitable. We thought it was going to happen. But guess what? It actually kind of hasn't, not at least by Funimation. One thing that's kind of surprised me to some extent is people have made the comment that, like, Amazon or Netflix are getting into anime streaming because of the Funny and Crunchyroll marriage. That kind of collaboration, that business partnership there. But in reality, let's really look at Funimation. They're dying. Like, these people are dead. The company is not going to survive, and I think that's the major reason that it collaborated with Crunchyroll in the first place, because think of what would have happened if they hadn't. I mean, this is a what-if world. There could be 1,001 scenarios, but I want you just to keep that idea in mind. Now, here's some other unrelated stuff. Gen Fukunaga, the CEO, president of Funimation, is related somehow. I think he's like a nephew to one of these Toei executives, right? And rumor on the street, I don't have like all my facts lined up. I'm sure you could go to Kanzenshu and figure this out, but freaking Dragon Ball was basically handed to Funimation because of nepotism. Gen Fukunaga had some sort of connection to some, relative who worked in Toei, and so they now have, access to this great property. But what have they done with that property? Every time Funimation starts kind of spiraling downward or not doing so hot, they re-release Dragon Ball. There's always some new Dragon Box or new edit or something like that. And they drove...
That was happening for quite a while.
I mean, it was 24/7. You could always expect a new Dragon Ball Blu-ray on Walmart shelves or Best Buy or somewhere, right? You could always expect that there's some new release, some new crop.
Still to this day, my friend. I was there yesterday, and both Z and Kai were on the shelves.
I mean, it's the same damn show. so it's like, buy this Blu-ray. No, buy this Blu-ray because the audio is different. No, buy this one because it's cropped differently. Like, criminy, this is a nightmare. Rumor has it from unnamed sources that I've spoken to, and kind of getting
the smoke on the street.
Smoke on the street. There we go. The temperature in the room. So, I always thought for the longest time that Japan was kind of upset with the way America had received Dragon Ball, and I mean that as America, as in like we people, anime fans. It was marketed very differently, and of course, a lot of series have to be marketed differently. But I want you to fast forward now to a point where or actually rewind back to even further when we're having Battle of Gods come out. We have Resurrection F. All this stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Resurrection F. Maybe it was Battle of Gods. But one of those two films, we here in America got the extended edition Blu-ray cut. It might have been Battle of Gods before Japan had even been able to sell it. And for those of you who are kind of aware, Japanese fandom has this quirky thing where they will reverse import American Blu-rays for the cheaper prices because over their media is crazy. I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, or at least pushed it to the point where Japanese shareholders for Dragon Ball over at Toei or whatever were upset to the point where they said, no, we are not going to deal with Funimation anymore. Dragon Ball Super is a new property. Z is dead. That type of stuff. So they try to cut Funimation out of it, and I think Funimation, obviously, without getting access to DB Super, went into this, dumpster fire. They're trying to do media marketing that just doesn't work. Their anime lifestyle is not as powerful as mine. Not sponsored by Taco Bell. But anyway, the point is they merged with Crunchyroll. Okay, so think about all this at once. What happens? Well, Crunchyroll announces that they have Dragon Ball Super, right? But here's the thing. Look at those subtitles, okay? Those subtitles are done by Toei. Crunchyroll does not sub the openings, as far as I'm aware. And like almost without fail, every opening has been subbed when it comes to DB Super. So why is this a big deal? Why is Dragon Ball Super the key to figuring out Anime Strike? Well, I'd let you know in my next book, the Dunham Code.
I was gonna say, this kind of seems like you have this back room and just like, look at all these dots that connect in like newspaper clippings here and there.
Let's see where it goes.
It's super conspiracy theory, but think about this. They're trying now. DB Super, Toei's trying to cut out Funimation. These are the people who have held it. Why do you think a company like Crunchyroll got it versus Netflix or versus Amazon? Now, you can argue and say, well, they weren't ready. It wasn't around the time. Fine, whatever. But the point is, the real answer is that Crunchyroll knows how to treat their properties. They properly market them. Remember that whole Funimation debacle with Erased? And it was just like, oh, yeah, remember college students? And they show this horrible version of this very heartfelt scene from this child who was starving. And they're just like, yeah, LOL, no money. It's just, they always mistreat their properties.
Prison School? Anyone remember the Prison School
campaign?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, that whole entire dub and
so
and I mean, so yeah, like, and Dragon Ball and Funimation, just to like buttress what you're saying, they really did run it into the ground to the point that one of their later Blu-ray runs, they had to stop because the cost-benefit analysis did not work. They were going to great lengths to clean that footage up and make it absolutely perfect, but the cost of doing that, like, they were not seeing a return because people had already bought the show and didn't want to buy it again. And I can see, if you are the IP holder, feeling really kind of upset about that your show had been done that way.
Exactly. So, kind of getting to a point here. This all adds up to a point. Crunchyroll is right now. I don't think I've ever seen another company that has so perfectly marketed their product. They honed in on the audience. They've actually been the audience for a long time too, and they do a really damn good job. Now, I've spoken with some people. I don't want to name names, but basically, Crunchyroll titles, even when they're pirated, do better than shows that have been caught on, Anime Strike only, or, they're exclusive to some other streaming service. And the reason being is because Crunchy markets the shit out of them. So it's just this publicity. You constantly hear the name Yuri on Ice no matter where you go. Just they do a damn good job. So with that in mind, they treat the property well. The marketing is great. One of the biggest shows that was pirated was Cabaneri from last year. Okay, so that kind of flies in the face of what I just said, but I want you to think about this. Cabaneri is done by Studio Wit, the same company that did Attack on Titan, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Who had Attack on Titan? Season 2.
Crunchyroll. Funimation.
Okay.
Yes.
So Crunchy had Attack on Titan Season 2. Now, there was a major hit on Amazon just prior from the exact same studio. So we're talking the same business people. How the hell did Crunchy take that out of the hands of Amazon Strike? You think Amazon Strike didn't have enough money to outbid Crunchy?
So they have built up political cachet with
My
Japanese
theory is
licensors.
Crunchyroll, we don't need to worry. Crunchyroll has such an amazing grip on this industry, has such an amazing grip on getting anime to us in a way that's very palatable. Now, granted, they've had, their little ups and downs in the past and whatever, you can talk about that later. But my point is, bringing this back to Anime Strike, these guys have proven to get shows based on their business practices. Amazon Strike, you hardly know what shows they've licensed. You only know that because Crunchy didn't license it. That's how you figure this out. They're not marketing stuff. I went to AX. Okay, this is kind of empirical information or evidence,
News.
right? But Amazon Strike was mentioned by the companies whose anime was on it. That's it. Amazon was not at AX trying to sell Amazon to Anime Strike to anybody. They were not there trying to promote their shows. They don't care. They really don't care. They just want the product. They put the product somewhere accessible, depending, and people can argue how accessible it is. That's fine. But they make it accessible, and then they just leave it there. That is literally their marketing right now. Versus Crunchyroll, who coddles in a manger every freaking show. So I think people really need to stop and think about the current status of the anime streaming. That landscape is going to fucking change. It's not going to be the same. Just think 1 year ago or 2 years ago, completely different landscape than what we're looking at right now. And Anime Strike is going to grow, but I don't think we necessarily have to worry about, oh my goodness, all my favorite shows are going to disappear because Amazon is this huge corporation. Now Crunchyroll is, they've got an ace up the sleeve, so I think that also needs to be stated. And I'm sorry, obviously I had to go into conspiracy mode to kind of prove this point, but when you kind of take a step back, honestly, I think the bad guy is Netflix more than anybody else, but there are other reasons for that. But I mean, so that's kind of my theory. I don't think Amazon is going to be the bad guy. I think, if anything, if they get tons of money, they'll end up buying Crunchyroll the same way they bought Twitch, and they'll just kind of let Crunchyroll exist, but now we'll have Crunchyroll, the same company, but with all this backing Amazon money. And
cool. This is a lot of points. Can I address something you said?
Yeah, I need to stop talking. Go for it. Yeah.
It's all right. This is all good stuff. I think the idea that Crunchy's marketing and brand management and kind of solidity as a company and cachet with anime fans and all that is a thing they can bring to the table when deal making for licenses is really heartening, because it will be a thing that pushes Amazon to be better. Amazon won't just be able to necessarily throw money at the problem, if what you're saying is accurate. And there will be some studios that are, despite Crunchy's reputation, will be tempted by the money because, a lot of the studios are not in great shape. But but still, like, you know, if what you're saying is accurate, like, Amazon won't be able to just completely sweep in and take everything over. And so, like, that will, I think, you know, could possibly push them to change their business practices, maybe tinker with the business model, all that sort of thing. So, like, you know, these things don't stay the same, especially with Amazon. Amazon has been proven to, like, iterate on their products and services over time and make them better. So, yeah, so I would not... I'm with you. I wouldn't worry about, like, a sort of apocalyptic scenario where Anime Strike eats everything.
And to kind of add to that, a lot of the complaints that I have with the service as of right now has to deal with something I just like to kind of call growing pains, because this has only been out for about 6 months. This is a very young section of this company.
It could be just a proof of concept, you know, that which they have done before. You know, they did Amazon Pantry, and then they bought Whole Foods.
Right. And this whole entire thing that I have issues with, like the size of the library, the quality of the subtitles and stuff like that, and even to a degree their marketing of this thing really does kind of seem like we're still trying to figure out a lot of the stuff and how the community works. And I kind of feel like maybe a lot of these problems that I'm having with it will be solved a year from now. It'll be like, this is something that, as of right now, I'm not a big fan of this service, but I don't want to see this fail.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there is potential room for growth, and I think that is a very important thing to take away from this service, is that, you know, yes, they're Amazon. They're a big company already. They should already know what they're doing. Like, I understand that argument, but at the same time, you know, even, like, if Babe Ruth was to suddenly start playing basketball, he probably wouldn't be very well at it the first time he started playing it. You know, like, again, like, you learn and grow regardless of how good you were of, you know, what you did beforehand. You know, again, like, you're not going to be perfect at everything that you touch. And I do think that this is a service that have a lot of potential to grow. And this is, again, it's promising, but man, it really does need to start improving a couple of things. And one of the big things for me, kind of like what Josh was saying before, was the marketing of a lot of the stuff that they pick up. Because it kind of seems like it has the opposite effect, because it'd be like, you know, Crunchyroll will be like, hey, Enter the Ballroom is going to be a show that's coming out this season. And everyone's like, yeah, cool, that looks awesome. And then it's announced that Anime Strike has it, and everyone's just like, oh, well, I guess I'm not seeing it. And that's not the effect that you want for your brand, you know?
No.
Like, you know, because instead of people being like, oh, well, if that's on the service, I should go get that. But instead it's kind of having the opposite effect of like, oh, well, I guess I just won't watch it then. Or worse, oh, I guess I'll go pirate it. You know, and that's not something that you want. And I think that a lot of it really does come down to not necessarily, like, I don't necessarily think the biggest problem is the paywall. I think it is just being aware that this is a service that is out there for people to get. Because, like, I've talked to several people who do watch anime, like, in my everyday life, and they're not even aware that Anime Strike is a thing that they can do. And they have Prime. You know, like, it's not one of those things like they have to deal with the double paywall. They just don't know that this is a thing that is out there. And these are people who watch anime regularly, be it through Netflix or through Toonami or what have you. Like, there's no awareness for this thing, and I think that hurts more than anything else, because if no one knows that you're doing this thing, you know, what good is it at the end of the day? Because it's kind of like, instead of, you know, trying to put these things on a high pedestal, being like, hey, these are these really cool things that we have, it's like they just fall into a ditch and they just kind of stay there. And, you know, regardless of how much I myself would be like, hey, Vatican Miracle Examiner is a pretty cool show. You should go check that out. And people are going to be like, is that a thing that's playing this season? And to be like, yeah, it's on Anime Strike. Oh, okay. And then they just kind of walk away and never see the show. You know? Like, just, I kind of feel like there's... I do kind of wonder if the double paywall thing like buried them in such a deep hole early on.
Yes.
With this thing where it might be kind of impossible for them to grow.
Do you remember in I think this is an instructive parallel and maybe kind of grim reality for Amazon in some ways, but do you remember in well, I guess it was before 2013 because I think 2013 was the year the new consoles launched. But whenever Microsoft debuted its Xbox One concept, and they were hard line, they were saying, "Guess what? No use games. You always got to be online. If you don't have an internet connection, we got a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. So fuck you." And like there's gonna be DRM with our games, so no use games. And just going so hard. And before the console even came out, they walked a bunch of that stuff back, but they had already poisoned the well to such a degree that all Sony had to do is walk out on stage and go, "Yes, not me, man. We're doing what we always did. Go games." and they fucking crushed the market, and they own it, and Xbox One will never catch up and never be what the PS4 is. So... yeah, I think with like nerds in particular of all stripes, we tend to like get this first impression and then we're like, nope, fuck those guys, and hunker down. When, like you were saying, CJ, like businesses and business models and products and services do change over time. They're much more flexible. They iterate. Even Crunchyroll, guys, like years ago, it hasn't always been what it was. They used to be more expensive. They didn't offer manga. They had not as big of a library.
They actually used to be an illegal site like Kiss
They
Anime.
were an illegal site before that. So they needed time to grow into themselves. And Amazon, I think, if we afford them that time, there's every chance that the service will get better given consumers complaining, given this idea that Crunchyroll has the market cornered, even though they might not have the most money. They have other advantages. So to think like that the business model now will be the business model now and forever, I think is mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, definitely things are going to change majorly. And the thing is, like, and I hate to say this, those shows that get on Anime Strike, yeah, we won't be able to watch them live. That really blows. If you don't have Anime Strike, if you're not, if that quote unquote double paywall, no matter if you're paying for Prime or not, you still kind of have to end up paying the extra $5, whatever your excuse is. If you cannot get access to Anime Strike, you do realize that these things are going to be licensed, for Blu-ray in America. So it's not like these shows are lost for time. We're never going to see them. They're lost in this black hole, some void that no one's ever going to see. I mean, this is Pony Canyon. Pony Canyon has access to these shows. Yes, good luck paying Pony Canyon prices. But you know what? The thing is available, And if you really want to kind of go this whole route of, well, I can't afford that as a consumer, I'm sorry. Like, I can't afford to buy all 3 gaming consoles, but you know what? That doesn't mean I get to bitch about it. Like, it's a shitty thing.
Well, you can bitch about it. You can bitch about it, but you can't steal the games, or you shouldn't.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, you can always complain. I mean, that's within your God-given right. That's not, I mean, I guess my point is I can't reasonably, there's no solid footing for me to turn around and say, this is not cool, guys, blah, 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 because that's kind of how it works. I mean, at the end of the day, there's still people who got to eat, Now, do they have to, eat freaking like kings? Well, that's another debate. But the point is, this is a
Are you
product.
talking about Amazon, or are you talking about anime creators that got to eat?
Both. I mean...
And when you say you have to eat like kings, do you mean eating from Taco Bell?
Yes, actually, thank you. I'm glad you picked up on that. The the double Gorda, nacho taco, Durango. That's not even a thing. I guess my thing is
Careful, you might have created it.
Taco Bell's listening to this podcast like, so this is how I run an anime streaming website and a taco restaurant. No, I think the major problem in the major quote unquote enemy of anime right now is actually going to be Netflix, because Netflix will not do currently streaming unless there's a dub involved, because Netflix, the people who scroll through that, it's a very limited category, a very limited library in what's streaming. So when you go through that and you see something for the first time and it's like, whoa, this is, subtitled, and still a lot of Americans, especially mainstream Netflix people, are not going to watch something that's subtitled. Not unless they already know it's subtitled or that's the only option.
Right. And when it comes to Netflix, I do think that is a completely other kettle of fish in how they handle
it deserves
anime
its own
titles.
show.
It really does, especially with how they've handled Little Witch Academia. But to kind of throw my 2 cents out there, I see Netflix as kind of like a modern day equivalency of what Toonami was. And
yes, very much so.
And I'll pretty much just leave it at that. Like, I think it has a right to exist in the business model that it's using, but it really does not mesh well with how a majority of anime fans like to view their content. One thing I do really want to touch base on, I mentioned it briefly beforehand, but I do think that the way that this site handles its subtitles is very odd. Like, my biggest suggestion outside of just advertise better is going to be, you really need to fix your subtitles, because the whole entire process for the subtitles is very odd. Like,
I don't mind it. I really don't. I don't understand. That's not true. I understand it, but I don't agree with the complaints about the subtitles. For me, they're fine.
Well, okay, like, one of the things that I'm talking about,
like old ADV VHSs.
Right, that is true. But one thing that I do find particularly annoying is that when you go and start to watch a show, you have to remind them that you have to put on subtitles for the thing that is not in English.
That is true. Yes, they should fix that.
Yeah, like that's really kind of obnoxious. But it's like if you did like a Spanish soap opera channel and you didn't include the function to automatically turn on subtitles for that kind of stuff. Like, it kind of seems like something that would be like a no-brainer, like I don't understand. Yes, Netflix has fixed this because
they did. I remember they used to have the problem, but I think now you can sort of set the options and it will remember them.
Yes, well, because like for me, like I do like watching things with dubs if I'm on Netflix, and so it automatically sets dubs for me. But like if something doesn't have a dub, it will play it in its native Japanese with English subtitles. So it's, again, like Netflix at least offers better options, and it does kind of have an intelligent service of being like, hey, this thing's not in English audio-wise, let's go ahead and throw the subtitles on there. Like, that is something that Amazon's Prime desperately needs to fix. And just, when it comes to the subtitles themselves, like, I find it very odd that they have, like, instead of putting an outline around the lettering of their words, like, they just put it behind a see-through box. Like, it does look kind of tacky. Like, and it gets particularly frustrating because, like I will give Amazon this. Their video quality for the streaming is very high. I do think that the video quality of everything that I've seen so far, like the stuff that I've been watching, like Enter the Ballroom, Adam the Beginning, the Vatican Miracle Investigators, like, really good in terms of just, like, the visuals of everything. Like, it looks great. But
yeah, Scum's Wish looked really good.
Yeah, and on the bottom of the screen, it's just this tacky little gray block that just flashes on and off and will have subtitles on there. and like it even does that thing where it kind of has a hard time keeping track of like what to do when two people are talking at once, and it gets kind of hard to follow because they just stack it on top of each other, and you try to read it. Like
they do that.
Like that's stuff that you can fix.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah, and
but I also think the box though, like, I mean, I do hear what you're saying, like, in terms of looking tacky, but so for me, a person whose eyesight is not the greatest, like, I find the subs very readable, and I totally appreciate that. Like,
I do appreciate that they give you the option for size differences. Like, I do appreciate that quite a bit.
Size difference and that opaque box behind them really enhances the readability. Like that contrast between the letters and the black, as opposed to just the letters on a dynamic shot, you know, with things that could be happening or whatever. Like, I find it very readable. So the sort of aesthetic of it doesn't bother me so much, because if I want to take a screenshot, I can turn them off.
The thing that kind of all this sounds like to me is it literally sounds like Amazon, you know, kind of like you were saying, subs. It sounds like they're kind of trying to do a proof of concept that this would work if they donated or if they put more, they allocated more resources towards it. And it sounds like right now they aren't. You know what I'm saying? So
totally not.
The
totally
subtitles
not. I mean,
are not
they're not marketing anything.
Yeah.
Like they are counting on the people that already like buy Prime to get in there and access it. I think that might be like, and I'm just theorizing. Who knows? But like, it makes sense in my head that if this is a proof of concept, rather than spend a bunch of money marketing a thing that was totally independent of Prime, they're hoping, you know, that anime fans again are savvy, and that sort of your mainstream Prime user will be intrigued enough to put down $5.
Well, I think the other thing is, think of it this way. Like, we know how much of a nightmare it can be to license from the Japanese through cultural barrier, through, you know, the different concepts of what the product represents. You know, that's why Crunchyroll is so damn good at what they do.
And it costs more now than
ever.
It maybe ever, certainly as much as it, like, no, you're right. I've heard that it is worse than the previous anime bubble, the licensing phase.
So to stop and think about all that, I would really be surprised if within, I'm gonna kind of try and put my money where my mouth is here. I think within the next year, Amazon is gonna buy Daisuki, or maybe a move to buy Crunchyroll. Maybe they buy Funimation. I don't know. I think they're gonna buy a anime distribution company.
Yes, buy that infrastructure.
Yep, they're gonna buy something, because they'll buy all the expertise. They'll buy the whole damn thing, and then we'll see a brand new Anime Strike, or maybe it won't be Anime Strike anymore. It'll be, you know, whatever they bought, and they'll just leave it be, kind of like the Twitch thing, you know. So
yeah, it'll be Crunchyroll Plus,
the anime home run.
It'll be Anime Gutter, and it'll be the proper name.
Anime Turkey.
Anime Ball.
I guess my
anime labor dispute.
Anyway, I guess my thought process is completely similar to yours, in that, you know, Amazon is going to purchase somebody else and just say, look, we tried this, we know it works, you know, here, shareholders, look, this would be worthwhile if we could just invest money in this company and just purchase them. They would generate revenue for us, blah, 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 blah. Like, can you imagine if Crunchyroll can get so many subscribers? Do you imagine how many people they could get turned on to Amazon fucking Prime? Like, it's a silly idea, but think about that for a moment.
Sure.
So, I mean, I would not be surprised if, you know, a lot of these people who are in Crunchyroll, you know, subscriptions or whatever, are students. So, you know, that's a 50% off Prime deal or something like that, right? Your Prime is like super cheap if you're a student, you know. So, I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer to me. The anime community would be a great niche to harvest, you know, get those extra few bodies into the Prime count, you know. I just don't see how Anime Strike in its current incarnation will last for another year. I don't think it will. In 1 year's time, come, you know, next summer, 2018, Amazon would have purchased another company. I think that's really what's going to happen. It may take a little bit longer, but I think that's the ultimate occurrence, the ultimate event that will happen here.
You know what? You know what will save Anime Strike
Was that?
if they pick up Macross.
I mean,
Well, they already bought old Macross because they're like, hey, Harmony Gold, why don't you do something about it? Oh wait, you're still sitting over there. You're not going to do anything. I didn't think so. So yeah, maybe I don't know. We can dream. Dream. But for the here and now, for the student that has the $6, $7 to sub to Crunchyroll, and doesn't want to do Prime, and maybe can't even do the deal that CJ is talking about with the $13 a month for Strike. It sucks. It does legit suck. I feel you. And hey, as a Prime sub, as an Anime Strike subscriber, it sucks for me too, because I can't have the kind of conversations that I can have about Crunchyroll shows, because I could tweet, about a Strike show, and it's like tweeting into the ether sometimes.
yeah, it's not the same fandom. It's not the same. I mean, people like the idea of anime more than they like anime itself, I dare say. Maybe speaking for, people when I shouldn't be, but, that I think the thing that Funimation was trying to get to and they didn't quite right is, there is a lifestyle surrounded by, anime. And I think that lifestyle is beautifully, like Crunchyroll has the pulse on that beautifully, but, if you can't communicate with that market, anime market is vicious. Like, we're talking people, there are still people alive who are freaking buying tapes, sending them to Japan, and getting really shitty VHS copies back. Like, those people are still alive, and they're not necessarily old. There are people who remember that, who are still running anime cons, who are still running podcasts. So when you stop and think about that, the major influencers had to go through a lot more. I think that really changes the scope of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people, they have a lifestyle. They've been here. They've, it's a time of transition for a lot of them, the younger ones, So it's just, there's a lot to take in all at once. I think anime is a very, very, very messy type of audience when it comes to looking at it from a marketing perspective. And I just don't see, unless you pour a bunch of marketing resources into it or you've been living in it for a long time, how you could just simply understand it and insert money. Dollar bills ain't going to fix it. So
the website should improve its search capabilities. It is, if you are on the Amazon website, it is difficult to know what is on strike. A much better, the mobile app is so much better about that, because you just touch the Anime Strike channel button and then you just see everything and you can browse everything. So yeah, the web end of things ain't great as far as the searching.
Well, I'll add a little bit to that, because I've been using the service through the PlayStation 4, and even then it takes a little bit of finesse to get everything working just correctly. Trying to search for things on the PlayStation 4 app, forget it. It just doesn't work very well. Again, a good example is the Full Metal Alchemist. They have Full Metal Alchemist on Anime Strike, but if you go and search for it through the Amazon app on the PlayStation 4, it leads you to where you can buy it. And it's just I'm already paying for Anime Strike. Why are you trying to make me buy a thing that is something that is on your service that I'm already paying for?
On the PS4, can you access channels that you're subscribed to directly?
Yes, but the thing is, though, is that they have it hidden away in a section of the menu that's not easy to find.
Okay. Well, I highly recommend the iPad experience. I think it's the best Strike experience you could have as a user, because right there, no scrolling or anything required. I think the first row of things are new titles. The second row of things is channels that you're subbed to that you can swipe through. And so you could just press Strike, and then you're there. So yeah, I would say, if you want a really good Strike experience, I recommend the iPad one.
Honestly, all you would really need to do for the PlayStation 4, just put a channels tab. That's all it really needs.
For sure.
Just have a little thing underneath watch list channels. Have like my watch list, then channels. Like that's all it really needs to be. But yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up with a listener question.
Thank you, listeners.
Yes, if you'd like to submit a question to the podcast, go ahead and head over to our Patreon of Wave Motion Cannon. Submit. It's just $1 tier, and you can send us a question, and we will have a chance to read it on the show and discuss it a little bit.
Patreon.com/WaveMotionCannon. Get it.
Okay, so our first question is from Ename. Is that how you say that?
Imani, I think. I don't know.
Imani. I would just want to say I man I. Like that's the first thing that I see when I see that. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun of you. But I say it lightheartedly. But the question, to sum it up, is about Attack on Titan. And they want to know, do you think Attack on Titan has pro-imperialist message or a pro-military message attached to it? And is there a difference between that message that's in the manga and in the anime?
Well, no. I don't think it has pro-imperialist or military messages at all. I think Attack on Titan is a silly manga that is based around giant naked men attacking giant walls. So I don't necessarily take it...
Filled with other giant naked men, those walls.
Yes, those walls are also filled with... I mean, like...
Spoilers.
If you're looking for some sort of deep metaphor, I'm sorry. I don't think Attack on Titan... I kind of agree with Jacob Chapman's comments on the idea. Like, it's... Yeah, no.
Shout out to you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
From my part, I think I mostly agree. Like, it seems like just kind of a grim fantasy story. I'm unclear how.
I do think the show is pro cleaning. I want to throw that out there.
I'm unclear how you would think it would have an imperialist message, because the protagonists are like basically under siege, and they're not trying to go out and conquer and enslave. At least so far as I understand. Perhaps I'm very, very behind in the show, so maybe the story wraps back around to like the Titans are like being liberated from humanity's control or something like that. But so far as I understand it, it's not imperialist, and it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem egregiously pro-military. It doesn't seem to glorify. If anything, it seems like if you sign up for the military, like you're gonna die.
Well, my kind of viewpoint is that I think it depends on how you view the term pro-military, because if you look at it from a standpoint of like pro-military means like, yeah, pro-war, we're gonna go in and kill everybody. No, but if you look at pro-military from the stance of soldiers banding together as like a brothers in arms kind of deal, and that type of pro-military, that kind of togetherness that it brings about with the soldiers that are in it, I do see that in the show, because I do think that is the main thing that appeals to a lot of Western audiences when it comes to this show, because like a lot of the people that I've seen who really like this show who aren't anime fans are in the army. Like I've seen that quite a lot actually, and it is because they do connect with that sense of being stuck in a situation of being helpless against a very powerful enemy, and you pretty much being there with your brothers and sisters in arms. And they do kind of like that aspect of the show, and it's actually the reason why I like Attack on Titan, because I do think it captures that feeling very well of being a soldier stuck in a very strange situation and not knowing the correct way to get out of it, and regardless of how prepared you are for a fight, there's still a very strong chance that you're gonna die.
I had a thought. Maybe you could look at it as a tad bit of a military otaku obsession, because that vertical climbing gear, that's pretty sick, and they do a lot to really what's the word I'm looking for? Glamorize it, like, so in a term of like the uniforms and maybe the gear and stuff and like some of the weaponry. Okay, sure, but again, like, it doesn't fit. You can't. I don't think you can take a look at the world of Attack on Titan and say, well, this very easily is the walled-off nation of Japan, and the Americans are just giant naked men. You know, it just doesn't.
Tell me how it's about World War II, Josh.
You see, that's the thing. I just don't see the World War II narrative fitting into this, so I don't see a pro-imperialist. There's no nuclear message that's in here, really. I mean, it's just like, it doesn't quite fit. It's always like 2 or 3 steps removed. I mean, like...
Eren Yeager is the nuke.
I mean, I just got done doing the tinfoil hat thing, so I don't believe this is tinfoil hat worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the tinfoil hat is the thing that we can all share, but yeah, that's kind of my viewpoints on it. Like, no, I don't really see an imperialist message, but then again, I've only seen the anime. My understanding, the manga is a bit different, especially later on. But from what I have experienced of just the anime, no, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I would not really see necessarily a problem with a message like that unless it was pro-conquest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess if it's sort of like support the troops, then sure, fine.
Anyway, so thank you so much for listening. We very much appreciate all the support that you've given for both this show and everything else that's going on at Wave Motion Canon. We've got a couple of really cool stuff going on right now. What are some of the things that we're cooking in our pots here at Wave Motion Canon?
Mr. Papi Grandito Bandito, Grant the Thief, and I have been working on a Dragon Ball movie podcast, and you probably heard the first episode by now. Second one is in the editing room as we speak, and the third one will be recorded tomorrow. So expect those patrons of the bonus tier or higher to start churning out for your enjoyment. Jimmy Gnome and I just published the inaugural op-ed column where we, on the site, a couple different writers get together and talk about the video and audio in depth of an OP or ED, like anyone that we sort of deem worthy. Like this, so the first one was about like the Dirty Pair OP, the Koji Morimoto masterpiece from Project Eden. And, you know, expect different collabos, expect endings, openings, old and new to be covered there. I really enjoyed doing that column. I hope you guys check it out and hope we get to do more of those. And there is a Watery Desho episode, Gunbuster Part 1 that just came out. Part 2 is being worked on. Also, bonus episode is also being worked on right now about an anime that is much newer that just ended last season, Kado, The Right Answer. And man, we had a lot of strong things to say about that anime.
Okay, and the only other stuff that's happening, I know also on the Patreon, IBCF and I, we just got back from AX. Jimmy Gnome was there too, don't want to exclude him.
Jimmy Gnome,
but we recorded multiple different videos of the Welcome to the Ballroom panel. Those are right now Patreon exclusives. We'll slowly leak them out. We want to give the patrons, supporters. We want to give all the supporters and backers, whatever the slang term is now. We want to give all of our fans access to that, early access to it. There's actually going to be some more of that coming. Carice was kind enough to give us access to her, I don't want to say translated notes, but basically she listened to the commentary of a silent voice and has some timing tags so you can kind of read along with those if you're interested, and those will become Patreon exclusives. They're not going anywhere else, so look forward to those there soon. I think there's like 3 of them or so. So those will be coming up. Speaking of translations and such, another interview with Akiyuki Shimbo, part 2. This is right when he joined Shaft, right around the same time. That just went up on the site. In fact, we just had an interview with Masaki Uwasa that went up on the site as well not too long ago. Translations are on fire. I'm not quite sure what the next one will be. I'm kind of riding on the seat of my pants, to be fully honest, because next month we got Lupin's 50th anniversary to do stuff for. I don't know if we want to talk about that quite yet,
RuPawn.
And then literally right before recording this episode, we published, IBCF and I ended up writing about Welcome to the Ballroom. So we will be slowly leaking out those AX videos through there. So make sure you check it out. Very, very good writing, I feel. I feel very passionate about the show for multiple reasons, which I won't go into because you should just go in and read these wonderful articles that we're writing. Carice, again, just got done publishing a couple days ago anime pre-production from story to script. So it's funny coming from the guy who's sat here and said, visuals are the most important thing of anime. There's a wonderful, wonderful article telling us the details of how story is written in anime. So that's the most recent stuff, and probably by the time this podcast goes up, there's going to be even more stuff. We're firing on all cylinders on WMC, so, better get on that train. Spread the love. Show your friends. Show your mom. She'll love it.
All right. So, again, thank you so much for listening. And where can they find you on the internets in terms of handles?
I am at The Subtle Doctor on Twitter. I also have a Curious Cat, which is curiouscat.me/The Subtle Doctor. If you want to ask me questions and receive answers that are longer than 140 characters, you can also find me on the Waterui Desh Show podcast at Waterui Desh Show, WARUIDESHOU.wordpress.com, on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, everywhere you get your podcasts. But why would you listen to me more than you already have? I don't know. Some people are weird.
And you can find me at on Twitter at Josh_Dunham. Again, most of my time is spent on Wave Motion Canon. So, I mean, if there's something you want to see on the site, if there's, comment, complaint, you just want to start a discussion, I mean, try and stay really open and really warm and welcoming to anybody, really. We just got some new submissions that I am personally overseeing. So I want to encourage everybody within the sound of my voice, if you think you're half decent at writing, go ahead and submit. I would love to see some new faces come up in the anime community. So please, talk to us and let us know how we're doing, that sort of thing. We're not as scary as we pretend we are. Being an anime fan is tough. You got to pretend you're tough when really on the inside you're not. So.
Oh, you have to kill another anime fan to prove how hard you are.
I mean,
and to get them to not get the other cliques to not come after you.
Well, why my body's 80% anime. I had to kill Tezuka, so, and I regret it.
Wow, you weren't even born when he died.
I know, I
That's
am the Zodiac
impressive.
Killer.
Future Dunham.
All right.
I traveled Looper.
That's right.
Yeah, see, I'm really looking forward to the TV tropes page for Josh Dunham for having all these facts. He hustled.
Okay. I did not hustle him. I won
Tetsuka.
that card game fair and square. Just because it was a Japanese card.
You took him.
It was a Japanese card, and the referee said it was okay. And after all, it was just a game, so they let me win.
You said, Roger, don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's right.
And then you took the cards.
All right. I'm at CJ Hitchcock on Twitter. You can find me there. I'm friendly, I swear. And we'll see you guys
Thanks for
next
listening.
week.
Bye.